people migrating also creates more influxes of opportunities for jobs as well. The state has always been notorious for being inefficient people in the marketplace. They use people's emotions as a hook to get them to buy into a terrible idea. But the people that are going to schools to get jobs that were technology related, software development, software design, web design, graphic design, those jobs are going to be gone.
If you look at Gen Zs, you look at young Gen Zs, you look at 19, 20, you look at the 18, 17 to 20, mid 20s, even 30, some older 30s or young 30s, they have no idea how to communicate. I think COVID just really just kind of made prices adjust to where they ought to be.
Like when you're one of the most accomplished individuals, not only in the world, but in the history of the world, you need to grow and get beyond that part, bro. There's situational appropriateness in certain situations where, you can be rough and raw and unedited. And in other situations, when you're public facing, you need to understand that there's multiple audiences.
I think, unfortunately, social media has made the internet a product now, and you have to be competitive in the marketplace, and you got to be edgy. In today's world, you have to be edgy. I just think you have to be edgy.
I think you have to be innovative. I think you can be innovative without being edgy.
I think you have to have an edge. I think that's part of his edge. I think part of his edge is that. He's always been that way.
Welcome to the family office. Planning for the people who matter most.
Dad, you sent me.
I don't know
which one I'm. It's an insurance company.
It was in Facebook, man. It's amazing what you can find in Facebook these days.
So wait a minute, it just came up in your feed. You weren't deliberately looking for it, or someone didn't preemptively strike you.
Nope. There were no approaches, no nothing.
This is the part that I get disappointed in being in the insurance business as long as I have been, and being in the type of the way that that I was in insurance or are in insurance. I'm talking about the model.
Sure.
I'm just so disappointed because I don't even think I will say it. I've never been reasonably prospected.
Is that right?
I'm very disappointed. I'm so mad right now. Do I just give off
so many times?
Is it me? Do I just give off unrecruitable vibes, or what is it? Because I'm thinking dude, why isn't somebody come try to recruit me? I'm a really good
You're a really good recruit, man. So it's funny. It's funny that you bring this up because when my wife and I go places like the mall and stuff like that, nobody reaches out to her, but they're always talking to me. So I'm like, do I have a target on my back or what? What's the deal, man? So maybe you give off don't approach me vibes or something, because
that's not the issue.
Opposite for me. Well, if you haven't been approached, it's saying something. I don't know.
No, I do. I get approached by people that know me, right? Or now, I go, people approach me. They go, "Oh my God, I know who you are." And I'm like, "Oh, how do you know me?"
I'm talking about complete strangers that have never seen you before.
Oh no, that doesn't happen to me.
They just read your energy.
That doesn't happen to me.
I'm telling you, when I'm walking around with Tasha in the mall or out on the street or something, and there's one of us that they get to choose to approach, I'm telling you, 99 out of 100 times it's me.
Okay, that doesn't make me feel bad then, because that usually happens with Mary and I. And but you're telling me it happens with you and Tasha, so I'm going, well, wait a minute, then I don't feel bad, because then that means there really isn't something wrong with me then. Because
are they approaching you, or when they come?
No, they're approaching Mary. Mary gets prospected, but I don't.
It's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's a
vibe. So Tasha and I don't have the vibe, but you and Mary do. Okay,
you don't have the get prospected vibe, I guess.
That's a good way to recover there. I like how you segregated that into the prospect vibe and not just an overall general vibe.
Oh, no. Definitely. It's not that. It's who, cause my wife, she's nicer than me. Anybody who would talk to, who knows me and who knows Tasha, hands down, she's nicer than me. But in terms of the approachability aspect of things, she doesn't give off those approach me vibes, and I guess I do. And so it's the funniest thing, and I don't know what it is. Like I don't try to say, hey, come talk to me, and she doesn't try to say, hey, don't talk to me. It's just something about our demeanor, I guess. So
I guess so. I don't know. I was going to blame it on the fact that, maybe I'm intimidating looking or something because of my pale face. And you're just like, like have this very warm, like welcoming, African-American man, respectable looking man face. So you're kind of like, oh yeah, we can talk to this guy. You got like the school principal face, Len. You're like, you can come talk to me. Or this guy's like, dude, it's a mean white guy. Don't even go near him. He's probably a mean baby boomer.
I mean, but my wife, she's a very nice person, and that's why I'm shocked. She doesn't have stanky resting, face or anything that. But no, I don't know what it is, man, but it's the craziest thing. 'Cause it's not like it's 50-50. It's like I said, it's 99-1, bro. I'm not even kidding.
No, it's the same way for me. I understand it. So that's why I said I don't feel bad, because I'm like, well, there's clearly nothing's wrong with me then. Because if it's happening to Tasha, then it's happening to me, then I don't feel bad. So.
There you go, man.
But yeah, I was laughing about this. It was a topic of conversation, that picture you sent us for the last hour. We were just, I was just looking at it and I went, dang, there's just nothing new under the sun. And I guess, that's the thing is that, that's like that. I think that's where I've reached an inflection point in the world right now. 'Cause I don't know if you saw this or not, but Michael Berry's on it right now, as far as on it, meaning he's like all over NVIDIA and XII and all these guys right now. 'Cause he called it out again today or recently.
He's still shorting them.
Well, what he did was he essentially laid it out and he said, look, NVIDIA sold chips to a shell company to get it off its books so that then XAI could use it for Grok for free. Right. And he's saying here, keeps claiming that they're playing the shell game, and he's been calling it out since November. So you really haven't seen it manifested as far as market performance is concerned, but he's calling it out again. But that, I think, goes hand in hand with how I feel with a lot of the world today, whereas it's just like nothing new under the sun, as far as everybody seems to be recycling. So that's the case of point of why we were laughing so much when we seen that flyer. 'Cause I was just like, all you have to do is go back 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years is 1970, right? 50 years, 1975, maybe 55 years. And it's the same thing. All you have to do is just change the pictures of the people and the words, and then just the aesthetic of the flyers, because now flyers are all AI made, right? Like everybody has an AI flyer, but now you just look at it and you go, it's the same old horse crap, except the freaking faces are different. And that, I think, is the problem with a lot of the stuff today, is people just keep recycling stuff, which again, I think is where you look at the job growth in the States. Okay. And we were talking about this and how this relates to migration. And now you're starting to see the net effects of everybody that's been migrating. And I mean, there's states that are paying the price now for it. So Len, I mean, I think it was if you look at it, the West is dying. California negative 27%, Arizona 22%, New Mexico 35%. I mean, nobody even wants to go to New Mexico anyways. I've driven across the United States.
Shout out to all the New Mexicans.
I know. Look, if you're there, I love you. I mean, it's a short drive to Texas. I mean, if you're in New Mexico, you're either in Las Cruces or is it Pueblo? I mean, I don't even know. What is Santa Fe? I don't know. But you just move over to Texas anyways. I mean, because Las Cruces, you're right next to El Paso, so you might as well go to El Paso. But Colorado, negative 14, Utah, Nevada, negative 21, Oregon, negative, Washington State, negative 36. I don't know how that state's not bankrupt by now. Right. But then when you look at the South, Len, Texas, 14% up, Louisiana up 4%, Oklahoma, 19%, Missouri, 10%, Mississippi, 20%, Alabama's flat, Georgia, plus 16, South Carolina, plus 9, Minnesota, plus 10, Florida, kind of flat, but that we can have a conversation about. But you're seeing the migration effects, and you're seeing the economic effects. Where are you at with this now that you're seeing this data? Because this is very telling, considering if you're running a business or you're wanting to grow a family, this is telling. Where do you move? Yeah. Where do you go?
Exactly. Like when you look at the southern states, you have an influx of manufacturing, and then also you have lower cost of living. And so right now, the more money gets squeezed and the more inflation continues to rise, people that have the ability and the flexibility to move, they're going to exercise their pocketbooks by moving and changing locations. And so when you look at states like California, when you take a look at Washington, you had high tech sectors there, but then with all of the high cost of living that comes along with it, southern states are much more inviting to companies like that, particularly from California to Texas. You see this massive migration away. And so when you look at the East Coast, those numbers are down as well. Why? Because the cost of living is significantly higher there. You have dense populations that are there. So therefore land cost is going to go up. So if land cost is higher, then real estate's going to be more expensive. And so then when you have all of these different factors that start to come together, people are saying, okay, where's the cheapest place to live? Where's the place where I can get the most land? And where's the opportunities with these jobs? And because people migrating also creates more influxes of opportunities for jobs as well, because if there's more people, they're spending money, they're buying goods and services. So if they're buying goods and services, then there has to be companies that provide a solution for what they're looking for. So what's happening is there's a flywheel or a virtuous cycle happening in the southern states. And then you have a vicious cycle happening more so on the West and then also on the East Coast. So it's going to be interesting because COVID changed the trajectory of so many sectors. And so when people were at home at one point in time and then they got a chance to look around and work virtually and see other places and go other places, southern states are looking really attractive these days. In fact, my wife and I looked at Texas for a second and then we decided not to, but it's still, a place that's attractive for us.
I swear you're going to move to Florida as soon as they abolish property taxes.
If they take away property taxes and income taxes, my mom is there. So
Len, I don't know why you haven't moved anyways.
Good, man.
I don't know why you haven't moved anyways. I don't know why you're.
It was the kids, and then it's my wife. It's her career. She loves what she does. She loves where she's at, and so we're happy where we are. Our neighborhood has grown significantly. The movie theaters within walking distance, and we have 50, 60 different restaurants within a 2-mile radius. So we're good. So I'm
that kind of almost sounds like where I live. I mean, you've walked around here, so I don't know why you haven't. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's pretty cool. Except it's in California. I mean, that's the only downside.
I mean, but my weather's great. But as but taking a look back at this map,
here's the thing that I find interesting about when you look at that though too, is that now that you see all the revenues, like what is it? New York short like 47 billion or something like that, and Hochul's really freaking out.
Yeah,
Hochul's freaking out. Mm-hmm. And it kind of just almost looks like, oh, it's just that you're not just seeing the masses, you're also seeing what was it? Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel just relocated to Argentina, to Buenos Aires. Did you know that? He was in California. Yeah. So you've got the mega billionaire. Well, that's a major libertarian place to be. Like it's highly libertarian. So I don't know why you haven't looked into Argentina, Len, because you're hip on that kind of stuff.
No hablas español.
Oh man, you could learn though. But
no, man,
when you have guys like that, when you have like Peter Thiels of the world leaving California, I mean, this is a PayPal guy, like PayPal, like that's California, that's Silicon Valley. Yeah. When you have people like Peter Thiel leaving and going to Argentina, I mean, that's very telling. I mean, you have companies, Fortune 500 companies battling with the state of California now, but you see the result. I think what's telling here is you're seeing all of the not the symptoms or actually really rather the symptoms of all the bad policies in all these states. And it's kind of all folding into the middle.
Speaking of bad policies, you sent me an article about Mamdani. I think that was you. And we're taking a look at the idea of state-run grocery store.
Grocery store. Yeah. Did you read that one?
I did. And it's really troubling because when you look at the idea from the perspective of the recipient, it sounds great. You get, cheaper food and, food deserts, but there's no food deserts in New York because
No.
food is plentiful, but it is very expensive. I will give you that. No doubt about that. However, the unfortunate aspect is that when you have the state come in, the state has always been notorious for being inefficient people in the marketplace. And so then what it does is it puts real heavy competition unnecessarily on the local food vendors. And so as an individual, you can't compete against a governmental entity. It's much more difficult to do that. And so as a result of that, now the people who busted their butts, who took all of these risks, now they're in a position where they could lose their businesses because the government is stepping in to run a grocery store.
Right.
And that is not what capitalism is about. Like, I'm about social equality. I'm about that, but I'm also about capitalism. And when you have states that come in and start to take over, I've got a real problem with that.
Well, I think it's shame on the media and the journalists of the world, because these are the things that journalists ought to be talking about. They ought to be talking about that, other than the fact that Donald Trump tweeted out something asinine. That's really what they should be, because I don't really care. And I know this is big for you, Len, but I don't care about the decorum of the president right now. What I care about is the fact, and here's the thing that scared me about that when I read that article. It wasn't the fact that he was wants to or is running a state funded grocery store. That's not my problem, because we all know it's not going to work. What my problem is that it already got approved and they already were working on it for like 7 to 9 years. And up until he started taking over, it was already in debt $20 billion or $20 million. Mm-hmm. So this shit's been going on for 7, 8 years.
Not a state,
yeah, city. So in the city, this grocery thing has been going on, and it's been 9 years, and they still haven't even drawn a mock-up,
yeah.
right? For even to start, but they've already spent the money.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not
typical.
even
They're not
so
efficient.
He's 55 million in the hole already, and he hasn't even started. And then on top of that, and this is the problem with politicians, is they don't. It's like a scene in the movie The Great Outdoors. You've ever seen that movie with Dan Aykroyd and John Candy? John Candy is hilarious. If you ever get a chance to watch like 3 or 4 movies in a row, right? You're just like, yes, right? But there's a scene where they're looking out at the lake. And John Candy and Dan Aykroyd is the Wall Street guy, and John Candy's like the family guy. And Dan Aykroyd goes, "Do you see that out that lake? What do you see, right? What do you see, Chet?" And he said, "I see timber and I see industry," and he's naming it off, and I see productions and hotels and condos. La, 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 la. And he said, "What do you see, Chet?" And then Chet, who's the family guy, says this, "I see a beautiful lake and trees to relax in," right? Mm-hmm. These politicians, they don't ever see the consequence, the long-term unintended consequences of their decisions. Mm-hmm. Like, they don't play chess like real business people play. And they open this, and then they go, "Oh, by the way, the fact that we're going to open this state-run grocery store is going to put out all the other private grocery stores out of business."
And that's the part that concerns me.
But again, they don't care though. See, that's the thing though, is they don't care, because they're like, "See, I succeeded," because they're always about virtue signaling. Mm-hmm. They're always about virtue signaling, but when the rubber meets the road, they never want to take accountability, because they're never playing with anybody's money, or they're never playing with their own skin in the game. Mm-hmm. They're always playing with somebody else's freaking money. Mm-hmm. But then they want to call out, "Oh, rich people get rich off of others people's money." Bro, like, you...
Yeah, that's hypocritical. And I would love to disagree with you about the whole virtual signaling thing. But in this case, you're absolutely right, because they use people's emotions as a hook to get them to buy into a terrible idea. And they use these ideals about how life could be and how it could be better for the people who have less, as a way to attract people who don't really do their homework to take a look at the real issue and what are the pros and the cons of
Right.
starting up a store like that. And so I really feel for New York long term. And I hope that people really begin sooner than later to understand that that's not a good idea. And
No.
I hope, and so if it takes 7 to 9 years in the making of a bad idea and it never comes to fruition, that ought to tell you enough right there that
Right.
efficiency should be built into the model, and governmental systems aren't efficient. And that's the reason why markets should be left to their own devices, because cost and efficiency and effectiveness should be the driving factors
Yeah.
to, to bring commerce into the area. So
It's just like California with the high speed rail. You've got Hilton out there pointing it out, like he's on the ground going, look, this is what everybody's tax dollars are paying for. There's no tracks, there's nothing, right? And he laid it out the other day. He's like, it might be finished by the end of the 2030s and cost $250 billion. And when it is finished, Len, I didn't even know this. The high speed rail will be regular rail from the top part, what is it? California, San Francisco to Merced. Okay. And then when you get on Merced, it'll go Merced to Bakersfield, high speed rail. And then when you get to Bakersfield, this is the most hilarious part. Mm-hmm. You'll get off the high speed rail and take a bus from Bakersfield to LA.
Yeah, because you have the mountains in between there. There's no other way unless you cut through them.
Len,
that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Len, this is journalists' fault. This is why no one knows that Governor Newsom is a freaking whatever, because no journalist is showing people this, and people need stuff in their face before they realize how bad it is. Yep. Because people will just, there's just no way, bro.
It would have been smarter to have two separate ones and have LA to Vegas and then have Bakersfield to San Francisco and then have those two lines separated by those mountains. So,
you know what would have been cooler than that? A subterranean freaking mass Autobahn transit system, because Americans like cars. It's exactly why the Chinese are building cars. Len,
the only issue is the fault lines, though. So
I get it, but I get it. Oh, okay, fine. I think there's a way around it. Elon Musk is boring tunnels all over the place. There's a way around it. I think there's a way around it. Okay, so all right, let me ask you this then. If you're on a high-speed rail, right, and high-speed rail is high speed, right? And they do it in Japan. They have tunnels in Japan. They have subways in Japan. So how come they can't do that? True. How come they can't do it here? The Japanese
Japan is definitely a high
seismic. So let's say you do have high-speed rail going down the center of California. There's an earthquake. That how sensitive is that track? So you're telling me, I know what it's going to be like. If the high-speed rail ever opens, Len, it'll be just like the Matterhorn at Disneyland, always out of service when you go there.
Oh, that's so funny. If you're not from California, that is such an inside joke, man.
Because you go and the Matterhorn's always shut down.
It's always shut down. That's so true. It was my favorite ride too.
Right. So the problem is that government gets in there and then the news doesn't look at it and they don't track it. So, and you got guys like Steve Hilton out there pointing it out. And again, people just think that this stuff is just going to magically appear, and it doesn't, but they need to understand it. Because it's their money. They don't think it's their money, but it is their money. I mean, look, a Big Mac with cheese, right, meal from McDonald's is $5.50 in Kansas, and in New York City it's $10. You can get a studio apartment for $3,600 in New York, or you can get 1 acre in a 3-bedroom house in Kansas. I know it's Kansas, but here's the reality behind it. I would rather live on an acre in Kansas with land around me and no poisons around me, or as minimal as possible, because you're still around farmland, than to live in New York and work remote. I'm just sorry at this point.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean.
And I'd rather be in New York making more money being, a mile or two away from so many different things, more so than Kansas. And so the reason why people get away with charging high prices in New York, it's free market because it can. And so
no, I think it's policy too, though. I think we've bypassed the part where it's both. What is it? The premium for being in New York, Len, is there, like the built-in, like it used to, like you go to Vegas and there was a built-in premium for getting something in Vegas because there used to be a higher demand of quality. Now it's all shit because it comes off a Cisco truck. Everything's the same now. It's disgusting. So when you go to New York, I think we've reached the point where I don't think that New York has the premium. You're way outside of the premium because it's New York price. I understand what you're saying. This is the only reason why I say that, though. Okay,
your point about Vegas. Vegas was the hottest thing in the United States outside of New York until it wasn't. And so after COVID, the numbers of people that went to Vegas went down significantly. And now because the prices went up so high, they went up too high. People are like, you know what? I'm not going to Vegas because, to get a whole meal is going to cost you 50, 60 bucks. Whereas 20, 30 years ago, you could get that same meal for 10.
It's
and
outrageous.
I'm not even being hyperbolic. I'm talking, the prices are ridiculous. And so yes, New York prices have gone up significantly, but not enough for people to have a mass exodus yet. But to your point, Chris, I do agree. I think they're on a slippery slope downward towards that happening, because if New Jersey or any of like Connecticut, some of those surrounding states decided to really fashion itself as New York North or New York East or New York West, I think they could have a mass exodus, because that's what Florida did during COVID.
Yeah.
They said, you know what? We've got the high rise buildings here. We've got great weather here. We've got tax, no state taxes
Favorable
here.
taxes.
Come on down. And people said, you know what? I'm going to go.
I'll leave you alone. We won't get on your back.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Yep.
I don't know, Len. I think the South is poised for a massive economic boom from Texas to Florida.
I agree.
And here's the other thing too, and we've talked about this. Those are the states that have the most well-positioned power reserves on their grids. And everybody knows jobs are going to cloud space and are going to infrastructure and are going to energy consumption for data compute and data centers. And the South has a lot of big open areas where you could dump that stuff. So, I mean, it's interesting to see over the next 10 to 15, 20 years, how the Southern states do economically versus the traditionally, rich, wealthy coastal states, and what happens. Because at this point, you're going to need a massive policy change to encourage people, not just people, but encourage entrepreneurs, most importantly, entrepreneurs to come back to your state, to create and incubate new jobs, let alone the Fortune 500 companies. Because I think you're going to need entrepreneurs and small business in the AI economy more so than ever, because people are going to lend to your point that I know you have a big concern about. You're going to need new entrepreneurs and incentives for entrepreneurs to spur new creative thinking, to create new markets with the advent of AI taking out existing markets and obviously altering current markets dramatically, which it's already doing. But there is a big pushback on AI in the United States anyways, where it's a lot of people aren't really utilizing it or adopting it the way that I think tech companies hoped they would have been able to do. I mean, so far, to me, I think it's just data mining on steroids.
Have you seen any of the commencement speeches? Because right now is graduation time. So to your point,
I haven't seen any.
Just go on YouTube and watch people doing commencement speeches, and anytime they bring up AI right now, college students are infuriated.
Really?
One of the reasons why is because a lot of the jobs they were preparing for 5-6 years ago, when they were getting ready to go into college and coming out of college, will no longer be available.
Right.
And so imagine what did the technology space look like 6 years ago? There was
nowhere like it is right now.
Yes, there were an abundance of jobs. We were talking about going to become a coder, and if you learn how
coding
to code,
was huge.
you can make your, if you become a software developer, you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. So many people
It
went
was
to
pushed
college
too. It was
and
popularized, like the
that's right.
healthcare.
Oh yeah, in a big way. And people were saying, "Hey, go change. You're losing your jobs to self-driven cars, so go and become a coder." So the kids are hearing these messages and saying, "Okay, I'm going to go learn how to code." And then they get out of college, and there's no jobs waiting for them. So the idea of AI, you would think the young people would embrace it en masse, but the people that are going to schools to get jobs that were technology related, software development, software design, web design, graphic design, those jobs are going to be gone, and they understand that. And now they feel squeezed because already, as we've talked about on a few other podcasts, that the cost of living is going up, the cost of housing is astronomical, and the cost of college has gone up more so than wages have gone up. So now they're in this massive debt. They don't have jobs to go to. And for the first time, a student that went to the workforce right out of high school is better off than a student that went to college 4 years. Can you imagine that? When has that ever happened in America?
It hasn't happened in in several generations.
In several generations.
Post World War II. Post World War II.
That's right. And so now this whole idea of college and this illusion of getting a 4-year degree or a graduate degree, that's starting to decline. So what's going to begin to happen is you're going to see all of these universities that are going to start feeling the pinch of declining enrollment, because people are going to be able to get just the same quality of education online, and they can go and use all the different large language models, large learning models like Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Grok to get their information and create their own businesses. And to your point, one of the things you talked about was homes are going to become like micro manufacturing companies, right? Because of 3D printing. I believe, to piggyback on that idea, I believe that individuals are going to become micro college recipients because of the different degrees, not degrees, but different certifications that people can get just by learning on their computer. And the job will begin to say, you know what, you don't need that college degree. Go learn this, ABC 1, 2, 3. If you show proficiency in that, come work for us. So I think the endowments are going to start going down, and it's colleges are going to be in
the age of colleges. What is it, like MBAs? Like MBAs are on fire sale right now. Like, because so many kids are coming out with MBAs and they can't even find jobs.
That's exactly
even with MBAs.
Right.
Turns out the most important skills, and we've talked about this so many times. And this just came out. This was actually on CNBC Business, and they were talking about this. And this goes hand in hand with what you were talking about: the 5 skills that are AI proof, right? According to Oxford trained career experts. Okay. And I believe I agree with this. I read it and I think I shared it with you, Len, because I agree with it. Number 1 is communication skills. If you look at Gen Zs, you look at young Gen Zs, you look at 19, 20, you look at the 18, 17 to 20, mid 20s, even 30, some older 30s or young 30s, they have no idea how to communicate. They have no idea how to, it's crazy. So yeah, communication skills. Number 2 is social skills, because again, COVID impacted that as well. And we're so used to meeting each other online. Number 3, leadership, judgment, and decision-making skills. Number 4, operations management skills. And number 5, AI implementation skills. So in other words, how do you effectively communicate, move people, work people, motivate people, drive people, and build teams and recruit and build? And then how do we take this technology and apply it in our business in the most prudent, most pragmatic, and most necessary, unover-engineered ways so that we're efficient? That is exactly what you ought to be going to school for if you're young right now.
I agree.
That's it. If you walk into any Fortune 500 company and say, here's what I know how, I have a master's in social economics, communication skills, leadership, entrepreneurship, and AI theory, or whatever the hell whatever it is. And I did it all online, and I'm doing it right now, and I'm still studying right now. And I have a conservative chatbot teaching me, a moderate chatbot teaching me, and a liberal chatbot teaching me. Len, I don't even know why we haven't gotten to business yet. Just know that if you're watching this, we just copyrighted and trademarked that idea.
That's right.
Like, seriously.
Have them all communicate, and then have a judge that's neutral and look at all of those conversations.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because
the marketplace always pays a premium for things that are not widely available. And unfortunately, communication, to your point, has gone down. Socialization has gone down significantly. And so because it's less available, it's at a higher premium. And so because of that, the marketplace is going to pay for that. And AI will never get to a point where it can communicate like a human being can. It won't be able to communicate empathy or situational awareness, or it won't be able to read expressions and things like that. And so that those uniquely human characteristics over time are going to become increasingly more in demand, because because when you look at humans' reliance on AI these days, what's happening is that we're being stupefied, we're being dummied down because we're asking AI to give us our own opinions. And so now people are lacking that.
And that's a good point too there, because you have to formulate your own opinion based on as many different perspectives and viewpoints as you possibly can. I mean, for example, people don't do this because I've read Communist Manifesto, but I also have Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. So you got to read both. You got to have both. You can't just say, "Oh, communism is the way," or "capitalism the way." Look, you got to be a scholar or study of both of them, and you got to learn that stuff, and you got to look at all those different perspectives, just like having those different things. So I think education is cooked as far as the way it stands right now, and people are going to see that. They're going to see that. And I think you're right on the AI thing. Some people might argue, so, AI is going to be much like a human and have empathy and all this stuff. Because even if you watch like sci-fi and you watch like Bishop from Alien, or I can't remember her name right now, but the synthetic robot on the show Foundation. Have you ever seen that show? It's an Apple show. You ought to go watch it. It's like 3 seasons or something like that. Len, you ought to like. It's a very big drawn out series, but it's very futuristic, right?
Okay.
And the AI in there is like 6,000 years old, but even at that point, the AI reaches a point where it can't have those things because it still has to operate within its parameters. Now, what happens is you end up seeing the logic go in the direction of game theory, right? So, for example, have you ever studied game theory, Len? Are you familiar? So, so you start to see the AI when I think what people, and at least what I theorize, anyways, in my total understanding of how these things work, is that the AI will eventually think and reach a point where thinking so far ahead pragmatically, or so far ahead in game theory, that it's eventually going to make a decision where a human might look at it and go, "Why'd you do that?" And it's going to go, "Well, this was the best decision for all of us to win collectively long term." And right now, short term, the human being might have made a decision that would be short term in its thinking, because ultimately most human beings don't think about unintended consequences, or they think in the moment, right? They think right now, because your brain's just trying to get you satisfied or normal right now. So you don't think like 5, 6, 7, 8, I think is where you start to see the AI converge, and where you see, the AI is not human. No, the AI is just thinking,
calculating, and
the game theory where it's
steps ahead.
Because if you study game theory is about the best decision to get the best outcome all the time. And it may not be, it's not about right and wrong. It's about what's effective. So I think that's where you kind of see that.
That's a good point. You were talking a little bit earlier about short-term versus long-term. And I wanted to get your perspective on, we were talking about college students and going out into the workforce and what the implications of AI is on that. What are your thoughts about this idea that we could be headed towards stagflation? Nobody's really talking about that in mainstream media, but when you look at stagflation, you've got a few different factors. Of course, you've got decreasing GDP. So where the goods and services created domestically is going down. And at the same time, inflation is going up. Those two factors right now are in play. The only factor that isn't in play right now is unemployment. And so if you have increasing inflation, meaning it's stagnant, and the inflation is going up, goods and services are costing more, and then you've got a potential for declining, in the workforce employment. What are your thoughts about what's going to happen in the next 6 to 24 months?
I think that's where you have the people like Michael Berry that come out so bullish on their theories or on their calls. And I think that's why you have them, because you can look at this and you can really, I mean, I don't know. I think you can look at the total world economy since '08, post '08, and really get the shivers, I think, because you can look at it and go down. This is the longest point of economic expansion without a true reset or a true market reset, because COVID really was a black swan event.
Sure.
And the economy was resilient. I mean, I don't think the inflation is, I think the inflation, yes, COVID created some really big cheap times. Like, you remember stuff, they were giving stuff away.
Oh yeah,
at one point, right?
Oh yeah. Inflation
2020
was
was
zero
like
for a long time.
Yeah, I remember when I met up with you in a parking lot at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, and we remember that you were in that Maserati, and I was like, and I was in that convertible. I went, "Dang, Len, look at this, dude!" And we were like talking about. I was like, "Dude, they're giving stuff away right now, right?"
Absolutely.
And we were still on lockdown, and we met in California, so it was like communism lockdown. Right? Texas was already open for business by that time that we met. Like, we were already like open, but we didn't know it yet. But at any rate, meaning because I didn't know it because I had moved yet. But I think that they're right, because I think COVID just really exacerbated, really just kind of made prices adjust to where they ought to be. Because I don't think we're paying prices that are due to normal inflation. I think we're paying prices that we should have been paying 10 years ago. Because I think the market, I think the market levers, you know what I'm talking about? Like, this has been happening for so long, Len, that there's just no more Like, we're reached the point where I think we're at the end where and this is why Michael Berry is so bullish on his theories, because he knows, he's studying this stuff, and we're at the point where oh crap, we can't make and that's really that's what stagflation is. Normal economic corrections make matters worse, because you have high unemployment, no economic growth, and high unemployment
and high inflation.
And things are expensive. And things are already expensive. Jobs are not there yet, right? So we don't have the severe unemployment yet, but economic growth isn't that great. So I think we're there. I think we're in a point right now where you're gonna see that, unless Trump's policies or Trump's accomplishes what he's trying to accomplish, which is he's re-centralizing everything back to America and making the world buy from us. Because think about it, we are a large net exporter of energy now. He controlled he's the only trade route he has to lock up right now is the Strait of Hormuz. He's locked up Greenland trade routes. He locked up the Panama Canal trade routes. He locked up the Philippine trade routes through the Pacific, the Indo-Pacific, with the Philippine countries and all that stuff. He's made those deals down there. He's just got to take care of the Strait of Hormuz. So I think what he's doing is he's trying to reconsolidate economic. I don't think, now that I'm looking down the road into this and we're getting down to it, Len, I don't think he's the only one trying to do this. Again, I think Japan's trying to do it. Putin's Russia's trying to do it. Xi Jinping's China's trying to do it. India's like the rogue player there. Europe has no clue what to do, in the United States. The only people playing in the game right now is the United States, China, Russia, India, and Japan. Everyone else is kind of like, let's wait and see what happens. I think that's what's happening right now. And I think China, Russia, US, and Japan all know what's coming down the mountain, and they're all trying to secure who's going to buy what from them.
Interesting. So the way I thought that you would be much more bullish and optimistic on the direction of the economy, as opposed to thinking that we were on our way towards stagflation. So that surprises me.
Well,
more towards the end, though, you started to come back around to, your savior coming and taking us and taking us into the land of prosperity. So let's take a look at this, because the way I look at it is, I look at things, I used to be an elementary school teacher, so I like to break things down simply.
He was a principal.
And then
he was
add it too. On. Thank you.
And a superintendent.
Add complexity. No, I was in the district office, but I was a principal. Yeah, but anyway, I was an educator. And so I like to take things that are simple and then, add complexity to it. So the way I look at it is, if you take a small business, let's say a restaurant, okay? And this restaurant has 8 employees. And so the restaurant, they're open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so what happens on the restaurant end, they have to have, their meat, so their chicken, their beef, and their vegetables, and that food has to be transported to them. So as the Strait of Hormuz stays closed, the cost of gas goes up and the cost of the goods and services are going to go up because they pass on those costs to the supplier. Okay, so let's say this burger joint has burgers, shakes, and fries that used to be a combo for $12, but now everything else is becoming more expensive. So what do they have to do? They have to raise their prices. So now you've got inflationary pressure that's happening because the small business owner is having to pay more for the same goods and services because of increasing oil prices, which impacts gas. But then also you have increasing tariffs. And so, the soy that feeds the animals, we pay more for that because there's a tariff that's imposed on that. And anything that we import, like the sake or whatever the case may be from out of the country, it's going to cost more. So then what begins to happen is now this small business that has 8 employees, they start to say, man, it's costing more. So I have to pass on that cost to my customers. So imagine this restaurant, let's just say it's by, this area where it's industrial. So you have a lot of construction workers and a lot of blue collar workers, and they would come in there. So instead of getting the burger, shakes, and fries 5 days a week, now they're coming in 2 or 3 days a week, and they're taking their lunch to offset the cost of that, right? So now their 8 employees are saying, okay, well, the business owner is saying, I've got 8 employees, but my customers aren't coming in because we had to raise the prices. So you know what? I've got this full-time worker, and they're not quite the best ones, so I'm going to have to make them part-time. So what's happening? Costs are going up, and eventually, if this continues, they're going to have to go from 8 employees to 7 employees to 6 employees. So so the employment's going down, and then the cost is going up, and so now you've got and people are becoming less productive overall because the company can't sell as much because people aren't buying as much. And so if you just take a look at that one restaurant, how many restaurants are all across the United States? How many restaurants right now do you believe are feeling exactly that same type of pressure? The situation may be different, whether they're rural or urban or suburban. There may be different market at play as it relates to the customers and stuff like that. But you can't tell me that the cost of the things that we bought 5 years ago is the same. And because people aren't making the same kind of money, I can tell you right now, we're fine financially. I still don't eat out as much because when I go and look at those prices, it's absolutely
Sickening.
Ridiculous. It is. It is.
I'm going to tell you.
So I'm concerned about our economy drifting into stagflation because in the last 80 years, we've only had stagflation twice, one in the 70s and one in the 80s. We haven't had any since the 80s.
I'm not worried about it. And here's why I'm not worried about it. Number one, I'm not worried about it because you don't see the unemployment coming up. And I don't think you see that because you're already starting to see the free market resiliency in the United States. And here's what I mean by that. I shop at Walmart a lot. I love Walmart. My youngest daughter, she loves Walmart. She's like, Dad, I love Walmart. She's 6 years old. She's like, I love Walmart. Can't wait to go to Walmart. Like going to Walmart to her is like going to Disneyland. So I went to Walmart just this past weekend and I saw, I was laughing because I was walking around and I saw in Walmart, Len, the big plastic tumblers and the plates for like summertime backyard boogies and barbecues. They were 50 cents. A cup and bowl. And I was like, whoa, that's cheap. Whoa. And when I flipped it over.
You know why? Because it came from China.
No, that's my point. That's my
US?
point. No, you know what it said? What? Made in the Vietnam. And I went over and when I checked the sweaters. Okay. And I went, dang, look at these sweaters. These sweaters are cheap still. What the heck is going on at Walmart? Made in Vietnam. And I went, see, all this stuff is already shifted in Walmart. Walmart has already shifted its suppliers to manufacture in tariff-friendly places where America cut deals because those countries said, you know what, we like it. We like where we're going. We want to do ball with you. We want to play ball with you guys. And as a result, they came here tariff free, and you're still paying the same, if not cheaper price than you were paying. And it's not coming from someone that doesn't believe in our values and want to share in our values. So that's number one. Number one, the resiliency is already shifting, right? And number two, I don't think a lot of the inflation, Len, that we have today is because of anything else, but besides the fact that I think the economy has been propped up post 2008 so much that we got spoiled with all of the government,
Austerity
buybacks,
measures.
not the austerity, the quantitative easing, all of the government prop ups with the banks, the autos, the telcos, the internet companies,
home loans for 1.99,
banks, insurance companies, all these freaking big companies are, it's too big. At this point, the reason why things are so expensive is because we propped everything up for so long. Somebody's got to pay the piper. And here's the part that I think is terrible. And I might be way off on this, but I don't think I am, is where the freaking hell is the profit share check from the government back to all the people of the United States that paid for all of these freaking bailouts since 2000?
Good question.
Because that's why it's so damn expensive. Because the freaking government has been propping up and bailing out all these companies and not allowing them to fail. And yes, it should have been chaotic and all of this stuff. And you know it, Len, that we've been screwing around with this thing since the 1913s when we made the Fed. And then furthermore, we even decided to screw around with it even more when we went crap. And this is all the rest of the world too. When we decided to go away from having an asset-backed currency. Because now you can spend as much as you want. Because think about it. If you remember the dual stock trade scams of the dual stock purchase trade agreement scams of the what was it, the 1800s or something like that in France and England, where they're making joint purchase stock trade companies, and essentially the British government was selling debt or was allowing a private company to sell debt to investors through a joint stock purchase. And then as a result, the stock went all the way up. And then all as a result, everyone started to realize Sir Isaac Newton was involved in it. And then it crashed. And similarly happening in France because there was no real asset behind it. So when we went off the gold standard, there's no real asset. So then all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute, we can make money out of thin air.
Thin air.
And we've talked about that because if we wouldn't have done that, we probably wouldn't have been as far as along. And I think Nixon maybe it was his wisdom, maybe it wasn't his wisdom. I don't know whose it was because I don't know. I'm not smart enough to give the credit to it. I don't track it. But somewhere along the line, someone in the United States government, whether it was him or not, Len, went, if we don't do this, we're going to get toasted because the rest of the world's going to do it. The rest of the world, because the rest of the world's going to go on a fiat currency because they knew as soon as we take it off of an asset-backed currency, we can print as much money as we want. We don't need to find assets anymore and refine assets anymore and make things worth anymore. Because Len, remember that. How hard was it to get a house in the 50s and the 60s and and even in the 80s it was difficult to get a house.
No doubt. I mean, I think when you talk about Nixon taking us off the gold standard, what was happening is that there was a credit squeeze. And so when you had the bond market starting to feel pressure, then what ends up happening is countries around the world starts asking to redeem their gold because the credit rating is starting to get pressurized. There wasn't enough gold to give back these other countries. And so because of that, we had to exit the gold standard because our economy would have failed right then and there. And so Nixon, through the economists that talked to him, realized that that was the only move to be made because one, we had the strongest economy. Two, we had the strongest military. Three, we had the Fed. And because of the International Monetary Fund and the Bilateral Commission and these different central banks, these institutions were essentially run by Americans through the history of them. And so because of that, we had the ability to turn on the printing machine, and that's exactly what he did. And so once he moved away from that, he went away with the idea of saying, we're going to come back. But they knew from the very onset, we were never going to go back to the gold standard after that. And so to your point, we're in a position right now where I hope that your perspective prevails, like I've said before, and that we can harvest data mining, stations on the moon and use solar as a clean energy source, because you've got people like O'Leary creating these gigantic data farms using public monies in Utah, and he calls himself a capitalist, but he's using socialistic tactics, and he's not even American.
Yeah,
So,
it's Canadian. I'm a fan though. I think Kevin O'Leary is a very smart businessman.
he's a
very
smart
investor.
businessman, but
I don't think he's doing it outside of I think he's doing it because, or he's using the tax codes and loopholes and ways to obtain that. Because here's the thing, I don't worry about a guy like that doing that. And on the surface, it might look like he's using, like, same thing with Tesla, right? When people go, oh my God, Elon Musk got so many, I don't shun that, because at the end of the day, I think he's going to 10x or 100x the enterprise value is going to come out of that. I look at it as, look, I'm investing in this state. I'm investing in the infrastructure and the economic livelihood. I'm producing jobs here. Give me a reason to come here, because someone else is going to give me a reason. So I don't look at it like that. I look at it as, now, if the guy is shady, right, and he doesn't have a proven track record to produce enterprise value in the free market, in the marketplace, that where someone like you or I or anyone can come and get a job and get paid a decent salary, $250,000 a year or more, with some benefits from the corporation and some salary matches and some cool things, I look at it that way. I think he's going to create 100 to 10x more enterprise value than what he's going to get back from or incentivized from the government. I just think, because I think when people like that come in and do business and do deals, I think they do it with a long-term view that, hey, I'm going to leave this place better than how I found it. I just think that's, to me, when I look at business guys like that.
okay,
I just
I'm a business
because the way
guy.
they carry themselves, Len. I mean, look at the way he carries himself. He carries himself that way.
Okay, you can't take anything away from his business acumen. So I would never do that, because that's just factually incorrect.
Right.
The only thing that I have an issue with is a lot of these data farms that are being created right now are being placed in areas where the people around it don't understand the long-term impact. So
But that's the job of the government, though. See, that's where AOC and Newsom and all these guys, and even the guys on the right, that's where these guys, as a responsibility that they have for being elected officials, that's their job, is to sit there and look at that long term and go, okay, wait a minute. If you come in here, what's your proposed? Look, we don't have a problem with you, Kevin, coming in here and doing XYZ, like you said. But here's the concerns we have. Long term, the power drain. How do you explain, how do you prepare, or how do you propose to fix that problem? Because by you doing business here, you're going to create that problem. So we need to know how you're fixing it and how we can help.
But not only that, I mean, because you could talk about the power drain, you could talk about the water resources, but more important than that is the increased rates of cancer, increased rates of the decreased rates of longevity. That comes
and
as
I agree with you on that.
You can't put a price tag on that. And so
no, you're right.
I think we agree from this perspective. We agree that a person who brings enterprise value should have incentives to go ahead and operate and create businesses that enhanced the livelihood and the economic value of the individuals in that region, and also the region itself. Because when you bring more jobs, you bring other auxiliary types of businesses that flourish as well. So I'm lockstep with you as it relates to that. But as it relates to the economic, I mean, the physical, environmental disparate impact that is going to create, there needs to be a lot more interrogation before that begins to happen.
The job of the government ought to be, okay, cool. Let's make sure that O'Leary comes in here. And just because let's just use XYZ comes in here. Mm-hmm. XYZ comes in here. They don't tear up the house. They leave it, meaning they don't tear up the environment. They don't dump chemicals. They don't poison people. They don't kill people. Right. They're doing it in a safe place that's a net benefit to the state that they're operating in, and ultimately the United States and the people around them. That's number one. Number two, on the back end is to make sure that if we do give a tax incentive or a public funded incentive to XYZ company, we ought to make sure that the citizens that fronted that get a profit share back. But see, that's where government sucks, because the government is not making sure they're not poisoning us. And then they're on the back end, they're not even making sure we get a profit share from the money that we paid to them. So of course you have this breakdown right now, because you have all these crazy politicians that are selfish and all these crazy freaking corporations. And the reality behind it is this, is that people don't realize at the end of the day is that everyone's a human being. You're greedy. Human beings are greedy, and human beings are selfish. They think about themselves first, even politicians. So so nobody looks at that. And we're looking at this, go, so I wonder what economist was in Nixon's ear. Was Milton Friedman? What's Milton Friedman's position on the gold standard? Do you know that, Len? I don't know if I've ever studied that or not. I'm going to study that. I'd like to study that. I haven't looked at it, because it'd be interesting to see that. It would be very, very interesting. Look, oil right now, Len, is down today. Well, it's up, but it's ultimately down. It's $92 a barrel. So that's good. I mean, gold, it's going down. So
from 97, it's just been, bumping up against that ceiling. Cause there's always resistance, and there's, floor pressures and ceiling pressures. And so the ceiling pressure is $100 a barrel. And so it's going to keep hitting that resistance, but it's going to keep fluctuating up and down, because when you take a look at what's going on in Iran, I think I'm going to win this DoorDash bet, man.
When they say the $60 60-day ceasefire agreement, still, I went, you freaking guys, man, what is going on right now? This is supposed to be over by the middle of this month.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I told you.
It is going to happen.
I told you at the very beginning, this war is going to continue to go on. I'm telling you, I'm going to be on camera licking my fingers with the DoorDash that you bought me, man. I'm telling you. Because you saw Iran just shot a ballistic missile towards Kuwait.
I seen that.
This war is not going to be over, because
that's not centralized control. That's deregulate or decentralized control firing that crap.
I understand that, but that's the reason. The whole purpose is to create instability. That's going to keep dragging the United States back in, because, relatively speaking, Iran wasn't really active in that region. We can make some arguments about the the enriched uranium and stuff like that. But remember, in June, according to the administration, that whole thing was obliterated. So I don't know what happened between June and February, where they really got to work, man. It's amazing how efficient they are in enriching that uranium. Let me tell you. but
they took a couple of our scientists over there.
And then, they had
Donald Trump got elected, and they were in the same camp as like Ellen DeGeneres, and they said, we're moving to Iran when Donald Trump gets elected.
And then the Strait of Hormuz is like this main bargaining chip, and there were no issues before they struck preemptively. So you're going to lose, Chris, because the war is not going to end, because even if the United States decides they want to withdraw, all Iran's going to do is they're going to start poking around to keep the United States back in, because they understand this. They understand American culture, and they understand right now that Trump's legacy is on the line, and because they know he's a narcissist, they're going to do anything they can to make him look bad. Like when you look at all those Lego commercials, those Lego YouTube videos, which are hilarious. They're so well done, bro. Like, the music
the AI is good.
The AI is good. The animation, and even the storylines, man, they're very compelling. And so every one of those videos they're getting anywhere from a couple 100,000 to a couple million views, and they're cranking them out like 2-3 a week. And so when they're winning the propaganda war, and they're winning the proxy war, and they're winning the whole idea of where does Trump's legacy go and hang in the balance. They're not going to let him off the hook. They're going to make sure that at least until the midterms are over, and once they see a lot of Republicans lose their seats, then I think there may be a shift in the negotiation leverage. But between now and then, Iran holds all the leverage. So when June 14th comes around, Chris, I'm going to get some succulent food, man. I'm gonna lick.
I
all of my
love how
fingers.
confident you are about it, Len. I love how confident you are about it. But it's cool. The
you
deal
know
will
what's
be
so
done
crazy?
before then.
You know what's so beautiful about this? It's like it's a win-win, because if you're right, the war's over. Awesome. Now we're not in war. If you're wrong, chef's kiss, baby.
And when I'm right and I win,
I'll be glad to send it to you,
you'll be
man.
glad to send
I'll
me
be
my
glad
food.
to send.
All right,
But-
we'll see. We'll see what happens here.
Okay.
We'll see what happens here.
All right.
I think in the wrap.
You know, you only
here,
have 13 more days, right? You understand that, right?
bro. When the clock strikes the end of the day on the 14th,
Mm-hmm.
we will see who the winner is.
Did you hear that? There's a lady that's singing. The game is almost
So
over.
come 2 weeks from now on Monday, which is Monday, we'll have to talk about that
That's
again.
right. That's right.
Perfect timing. Did we preemptively set that up? I think we did.
It was all in the making, man. It's all providence.
I definitely will not be watching the news just simply because I'm not worried. I mean, that's all there is to
Okay.
it.
All right. Well, we shall see.
So just a little lighthearted to wrap it up today. I thought it was pretty funny. Elon Musk's tweet, what was it, Friday or Thursday last week? You know what I'm talking about?
It was Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday last week.
What was it? Sex, money, or no taxes, and one other word, right? Something like
And
that.
the B word, yes.
And the B word.
Dude,
First and foremost, I thought it was awesome, and I'm all for it. And we can have a conversation about it. But if you didn't go look at it, or you don't know what we're talking about, Elon Musk posted something on X, and basically, I don't want to repeat the words, but you can go look it up. It's absolutely epic, and it was pretty much it was money, sex, women in a different word with a B, and then no taxes, and then party at the end. And I thought it was absolutely hilarious. And I think that for someone like that in that position to be able to tweet something like that and to tweet that out there, I think that that provides a lot of recruiting power for his companies. I think it also puts out there that the woke thing is dead, and you ought to be able to express yourself in any way you want to express yourself, and that's how he wants to express himself. And at the end of the day, I also think that he makes a market by doing it as well, and creates popularity amongst himself, his brands, his followers. So I thought it was absolutely genius, Len. I thought it was great.
well, to me, I take a different approach on that. And I understand the idea of like pushing the envelope as it relates to political correctness, because I think I think anything taken to its extreme is a problem, right? And in this case, I respect the fact that he can speak freely because of freedom of speech, but I don't have to agree with it. And what I don't agree with is that a person of his caliber and of his accomplishment, he should, and his age, we're like, if he's 30 and doing that, okay, cool. You're one of the tech bros, but bro, you're in your 50s. Like, it's like going to the club and you're a 55-year-old guy trying to dress trendy in tennis shoes, bro. Like, those days are over. And so allow somebody else to put that tweet out there, bro. Like, when you're one of the most accomplished individuals, not only in the world, but in the history of the world, you need to grow and get beyond that part, bro. Like, you've got multiple kids, and it's just
Multiple kids. He's got like a whole country of kids at this point.
Exactly my point. And so he should be really beyond that. And, so like, again, I respect the fact that we have a country that somebody can say that, God bless them. But, for me, as a person who ascribes to the idea of, being a Christian, a person who wants to be an example for my kids, I wouldn't want my kids to see me tweet something like that and then be like, yeah, that's my dad. No, bro. Like if I'm, before I decided to, live my life this way while I was single and before I was 25, cool, but not now. It's timing and position.
I think if you're in the tech world or you came up in the tech world,
which I didn't. So
I think to me, that's just like a nerdy thing that nerds would say.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, a 25-year-old nerd.
Yeah. But I think the world's different now. And I think that And I think that Albert Einstein probably said some weird stuff too, but we don't know because he was there. The internet wasn't there.
It wasn't. Yeah.
So I think that we also see that as well in here is that, okay, cool. Like, but I'll tell you right now, if I was an engineer and I was 22, 19, 25, I'd be like, dude, I'm going to work for Elon Musk.
It's a great recruiting tool.
I want to work there, bro, because if that's the type of attitude, that means things are getting built and things are getting done. Because I think that if that's not the attitude, I think that you're just going to have this kumbaya place where human beings aren't human beings. And here's the reality that I think everybody has to understand. And I think we forget about this is that human beings are animals. We're raw.
Like, yes, but there's like a time and the place. Like it's context. Like, you know, there's the way that, like, when you and I have our preparation conversations for these podcasts, the way that you and I interact with is not how you would interact with your kids. It's different.
Oh, of course.
So that's the point. The point is not that we have to always be kumbaya and perfect and all that. There's situational appropriateness in certain situations where, you know, you can be rough and raw and unedited. And in other situations, when you're public facing, you need to understand that there's multiple audiences. So like if you've got your internal, you know, like job board thing, go take a look at, you know, Elon Musk's Patreon channel, put it there. But like to be in a public space where you have different people consuming your content and different people are looking at you in a certain light. That's all I'm saying. Like, I don't judge him for it. I just think there's a time and a place for it. And I just think that platform wasn't the place.
I think unfortunately social media has made the internet a product now. And you have to be competitive in the marketplace. And you got to be edgy. In today's world, you have to be edgy. I just think you have to be edgy.
I think you have to be innovative. I think you can be innovative without being edgy.
I think you have to have an edge. I think that's part of his edge. I think part of his edge is that. He's always been that way. So I just like Donald Trump's raw. I mean, a lot of people go, oh my God, Donald Trump. Donald Trump's been the same guy. Here's the
would you consider Fox News edgy? Would you consider CNN edgy?
I think so. I don't think CNN is edgy. I think Fox News,
they both are. It's just they're edgy to a different audience.
No. Well, no, not in that sense. No. I don't think so because here's the thing. I mean, look, Rupert Murdoch started Fox with tabloids, right? Like it was the tabloid guy. He was a tabloid guy from Australia or something like that, or New Zealand or something like that. I think it was Australia. For where he came from. So he was a tabloid guy. But what I mean by that is that, look, Elon Musk gets on Rogan and Rogan is no holds barred. I mean, Rogan smokes weed on his podcast, right? So, I mean, that in itself is some people are going, oh my God, Joe Rogan. I can't believe Joe Rogan. I mean, I don't care that he smokes, but he's doing it on camera. Well, I mean, look,
to me, I think that's different though, Chris, because like, here's the point. If I can decide what I consume on X, so I know that's a good counter argument. But if I could go to Joe Rogan's channel, I already know what I'm getting. And so on X, like it comes to me. Like for Joe Rogan, I can decide to click on it or not. And so when I said that Fox
was, or not,
that's true. But like there's certain things that come to my feed when I'm on X. That's my point. And so when Elon Musk, and when he sends out an X or a tweet, bro, he's a market maker. And so people are going to be curious as to what he says. The only reason why I'm critical of that tweet from him is because of who he is. And so I can understand, like, I understand your point of view, and I don't wholeheartedly disagree with your point of view. I'm just saying that there is a time and a place for that. And I don't think he should be barred or should restrain from sending out a tweet like that. I just think that he should think about where he's putting it, because it's a reflection on where we're going as a country. And I think as a country, if we don't maintain the guardrails that really allowed us to have the discipline and the moral integrity, because you talk a lot about moral standards and moral integrity. We're on a very slippery slope right now, Chris. And if we can say anything and do anything and think that's being edgy and that's being cool, then how far does that extend before it slips into the gray area? And how far does the gray area go until it slips into black areas? And when I say black, I'm talking about like, in very dark areas, man.
Dark
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
The dark stuff.
And that's my only concern, man, is that as a country, we're in a slippery, morally declining path away from godliness and away from good values and principles. We are slipping away from that. And so when it's like, I know how people could perceive what I'm saying. Like, he's buttoned up and he's, morally, judgmental. That's not my intent at all. It's to say, look, there are some guardrails that we as human beings need to operate from. And because we have those guardrails, we need to respect the sanctity of that. That's still the reason why you can't cuss on, mainstream channels because of the FCC. But you can go and consume as much cursing as you want. But there are certain places where that's still not allowed. And I think the day in which we allow breasts and the F word to be on CNBC and ABC and CBS, that's the beginning of the end. We're done. And I believe we're headed.
I don't know if you'll ever see that. I don't know if you'll ever see that.
I hope not. But we're on that path, Chris. We're on that path. So anyway.
Who's pushing it?
Come on now. Who's pushing it? I think the current way in which media is going is there's this movement toward being anti-woke, anti-politically correct, speak your mind by using the First Amendment as the signal to be able to do that. And I think doing that creates a gradual drifting away from our moral center. It's a gradual, but it's happening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that it's a product. It's out on the internet. There's a lot of stuff that's on the internet, and I think he posts what's on his mind. I mean,
yeah, and he has every right to do it. I don't have to agree with it, but he has every right. Right,
and I think that the good thing about it is that if you're underage, you obviously don't see that kind of content. So unless you have access to your dad or your mom's stuff, so in that case, but at any rate, it definitely is going to be an interesting week this week. There's a lot at play. I can't wait to see what developments come out. And how things shape up. So 2 weeks to go on the challenge. I know everybody wants to know. It's going to be our first challenge of this show. So we're going to see who wins batch number 1, Len. So we are going to see who eats what on what day and who's got to serve it up. So
yes, sir. Anyways. All right, man. Hey, it's always a pleasure having a conversation with you, Chris. Until next Monday. If you like this content, make sure you subscribe. Please feel free to comment, and we'll continue bringing better and better content every single week.
See you later.
Conversation has given you clarity on your next steps. Please share this episode with someone who's walking the same path. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. And remember, planning ahead isn't just prudent, it's an act of care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Family Office.